You are lying in bed. The room is dark. You close your eyes, your breathing slows down. You are waiting for the transition. One moment you are fully aware of the sheets, the temperature of the room, the lingering thoughts from your day, and then you aren't. What actually happens to your consciousness in that exact moment? Most of us think of falling asleep like flipping a switch. The machine powers down, the screen goes black. But science and history tell us something completely different. Your consciousness doesn't just turn off, it shifts. And to understand what it shifts into, you have to realize that you were not designed to sleep the way you sleep right now. Let's start with the physical moment you slip away. As you cross the threshold of sleep, your cerebral cortex, the part of your brain responsible for conscious thought, begins to quiet down. Your eyes stop processing images, even behind your closed lids. Your ears stop registering the subtle sounds of the house. To anyone watching you, you look gone. But inside your head, your brain is doing something else entirely. It is highly active. During certain phases of sleep, your brain produces bursts of gamma waves, the exact same type of brain waves associated with heightened awareness, memory retrieval, and dreaming. Your brain is sorting, storing, and building, just like how an infant's brain is constantly rewiring itself, tearing down old connections to build new ones in a process called neurogenesis. Your sleeping brain is running a complex architectural program. But here is where the story gets strange and where it changes everything you think you know about your own mind. When you fall asleep tonight, you probably expect to stay unconscious for 7 or 8 uninterrupted hours. But for 99.9% of human history, that is not how human consciousness worked. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half their life in near total darkness. Before the mastery of fire, our ancestors were like every other primate. When the sun went down, you climbed a tree or found a sheltered spot and you stayed perfectly still. Moving at night meant becoming food, because our eyes are terrible in the dark compared to leopards, hyenas, and wolves. The useful day ended at sunset. Then, roughly a million years ago, we captured fire. A campfire created a 30-foot circle of safety where predators wouldn't come. But fire didn't just keep humans safe, it restructured the human day. It added 2 to 4 usable hours to every single evening. And around that fire, human consciousness began to change. During the day, our ancestors talked about logistics, hunting, and work. But at night, around the flames, 81% of conversations shifted to stories, myths, and jokes. The campfire was the original theater, the original classroom, where humans learned to think beyond the immediate present and imagine things that don't exist yet. But what happened after the fire burned down to embers is the most fascinating lost chapter of human consciousness. In 2001, a historian named Roger Ekirch published a paper that changed sleep science forever. After 16 years of digging through historical records, he found over 500 references in diaries, court records, medical texts, and even Homer's Odyssey, all describing the same thing: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial age, people did not sleep in one continuous block. They went to bed shortly after sunset, slept for about 4 hours, and then woke up. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, and then went back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was normal. This was how every human on the planet slept for thousands of years. And what did people do during that wakeful period in the middle of the night? Everything. They visited neighbors. They interpreted their dreams while they were still fresh. They conceived children. Or, as one writer noted, they simply lay in bed in the dark and thought. Doctors in the 1500s called it the watch, advising that it was the absolute best time for study and reflection, when the mind was calm and the world was still. Science eventually proved that this wasn't just a cultural habit, it was biology. In 1992, a psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr took a group of volunteers and removed all artificial light from their lives for 1 month. They experienced 14 hours of darkness every night, just like our ancestors would have before artificial light. Within weeks, every single participant's brain settled into the exact same ancient pattern: 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, and then 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody told them to do this. They just did it as if some ancient program had been waiting inside them the whole time, buried under centuries of modern habits. But Wehr found something even more remarkable. When he measured their hormone levels during that middle-of-the-night wakeful period, he discovered they were in a state unlike any normal waking state. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin, the exact same hormone released during deep meditation. They described feeling peaceful, reflective, and calm. It wasn't just a gap in sleep, it was its own distinct state of consciousness, and it is a state that most modern humans have never, ever experienced. So what killed this entirely unique phase of human consciousness? Light. In the 1600s, cities began installing street lamps. Then came cheaper candles, gas lamps, and finally, Thomas Edison's electric light bulb in 1879. Within a single generation, the night as humans had known it for 300,000 years was completely gone. Today, you are exposed to artificial light for an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. The blue light glowing from the screen you are probably looking at right now suppresses your body's production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates when you fall asleep. Your body is ancient. It does not know the difference between a light bulb and the sun. When light hits your retina at 11 p.m., your brain interprets it as daytime. It delays melatonin. It fragments your sleep. It completely disrupts a circadian rhythm that took millions of years to evolve. We didn't just change our bedtime. We eliminated an entire phase of human consciousness. We traded that quiet, meditative state of reflection for a light switch. Think about how much of your modern life is driven by hardware designed for a world that no longer exists. The reason you can't stop eating sugar is because for hundreds of thousands of years, a dripping honeycomb was the richest meal your ancestors could find, and your brain is still trying to store fat for a famine that isn't coming. The reason you feel crushing anxiety when you walk into a room late is because your brain evolved in a tribe of 150 people where standing out meant being cast away from the fire and eaten by predators. You are running an ancient software program in a modern world. Sleep is exactly the same. Today, when you wake up at 2 a.m. and lie there in the dark, your brain panics. You look at your clock, you stress about how tired you will be tomorrow. We call it a disorder. We call it insomnia. But what if it's not a disorder at all? What if waking up in the middle of the night isn't your body malfunctioning? What if it is your body remembering what it was actually built to do? For 300,000 years, your ancestors slipped into sleep and then woke up in a rhythm that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. They lived in darkness so complete that the Milky Way was just the sky. And every night in the dark between first and second sleep, they lay in silence in a deeply meditative state of consciousness and thought about their lives, their dreams, and the world they would wake up to. The next time you turn off the light and wait for your consciousness to slip away, remember what your brain is actually trying to do. And if you happen to wake up at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, don't panic. You aren't broken, you are just feeling the quiet echo of an ancient human night.